This is
Essential.
This is Essential Audio.
Welcome back to the MoneyPot, the podcast from Money 2020. The conference is right around the corner, and this episode will be the last preview of upcoming insights.
But don't worry, we'll be back soon after. Everyone on our team is gearing up for the conference. Lots of long hours, and we're all very excited about it. Which reminds me, if you haven't registered yet, it's still not too late. Go to money2020.com and register now.
You do not want to miss out on all the great content, the great networking, nor the great food. I know you think I'm kidding, but have you seen the menu? It's amazing. Have you heard of the Freshman 15? You're going to think about the Money 2020. So Scarlett, you've talked to one of our upcoming speakers for this episode. What are we discussing?
Yes, I got the opportunity to chat with a dear friend of mine, Judith Erwin, the CEO of Grasshopper, about her mission with her new bank.
Right. She's going to be on main stage with the challenger banks, also called neobanks, talking about the ideas and the fundraising.
And Grasshopper has something unique. Unlike most challenger banks in the U.S., she has a charter. So I want to talk to Judith about her journey, what her mission at Grasshopper is, and about the experience to get a bank charter instead of partnering with an established bank like many of the challenger banks do. I found out that you and she have something in common. She moved around a lot as a kid, just like you.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I found that my experience moving a lot as a child has made me more resilient to changes in tech, maybe even drew me to tech.
For Judith, she decided she wanted to be a banker when she was 12 because it seemed very stable. Ironic considering what she is doing now, but it did build her resilience for change. She has been in banking since her first job in high school and all throughout college. And as she found out more about what bankers actually do, she found herself moving around to a lot of different jobs and becoming a Miss Fix-It. So when she looked at the venture banking, she saw a lot of challenges there she felt like she could tackle.
Well, venture banking is riskier than most because you're backing and being the banker for unknown entities, startups. That isn't easy. But Judith isn't new to it. Wasn't she part of the team at Square One Bank?
Yes, and it was very successful. But it was bought out before some of the team got a chance to achieve all they wanted to, and you know that founder DNA. Judith thought a lot of the work of Square One Bank wasn't finished, so when she was approached about starting Grasshopper, it was a chance to do what Square One didn't get to finish, and to fix some of the other issues with venture banking. Judith explained to me what she felt like, and why she felt like she needed to start Grasshopper.
The big thing about venture banking, this little world I live in, is it's not very scalable. Past about $2 billion in loans. I was approached to start a bank. I said, I will do this if it's a differentiated technology model. So we had to develop and are developing technologies which enable us to see everything that's going on with a client and also show them what's going on with them in a way that you can have more frequent dialogue before problems occur.
So they're developing tech that makes it more immediate. That makes perfect sense because the role of a venture capitalist is to help the business become the best business it can be. Very often, we talk about venture capitalists as role models, mentors for entrepreneurs, and they can be. But the VC's first loyalty is to the business. A bank that can help them foresee roadblocks quickly is invaluable.
And like she said, scale is a challenge. The only way to scale is to create technologies that keep costs down and allow data to be used immediately.
So she wants to solve the problems of scale with tech. What other issues is she looking at?
She explained that
We have a concept yet to prove, and that is through the use of effective technology, you can create a more highly valued financial services company that is still loved by the client. But to make it simple, elegant, user-friendly, and consistently reliable, that's my number one deliverable. But I'm a big believer in being product-led and client-led. And so we started out with the goal of single source of truth, and that single source of truth is a single view of the client.
So she not only wants the tech to make it simple for the client to use and to be completely up to date, she feels like a venture bank should be product-led.
That is different, because most banks are sales-led. That's how they make their products. So what does she mean about being product-led and client-led?
Being product-led or client-led in venture banking has a lot in common with what we've discussed around customer centricity and personalization. Instead of creating a blanket product to sell, they create services tailored to the client. The focus is always on the client. And just like you and I, Judith is adamant about ending silos in banking. We are so over that. Grasshopper is not siloed, and she intends that they will never be. She spoke about this when she talked about what the founder DNA is and what she hopes for in Grasshopper.
I want to do 5 things and do them in an outstanding manner, and then 6, and then 7. But I'm completely focused, we are completely focused around the innovation entrepreneur and the investors who invest in them. So I'm a big believer in how do you get founder DNA into a company that lives past the founder, is the way I think about it. And my DNA is being transparent, being collaborative. I have a big deal about no silos in the company, and giving back.
So, having been part of 4 startups, I can see that her idea of the founder DNA being ingrained into the company is all about how the company continues to serve the original mission long beyond the time of the founder.
Basically, and she wants Grasshopper to reflect those values as they grow, which, as you know, as companies grow, culture and values are harder and harder to maintain, but it's something that she's cared about a lot from the very beginning.
I always want the companies I found to be an element of that too. And being client-centric and against silos just seems like sound ideas for sustainable growth. Considering the amount of personalization that consumers expect, why would startups or any other business for that matter want any less?
Exactly. Sustainable growth is also why she made the move to get a charter, which is one of the boldest and most difficult initiatives for a new bank to undertake.
Absolutely. A charter means she intends for this bank to thrive for a long time.
Yes, and it isn't about having an exit strategy. We talked about why she was determined to get a charter, despite how challenging it is.
The biggest reason was economic. I don't actually understand how these challenger banks who operate on other banks can ever make money, especially in a time of low interest rates. And so I wanted every revenue lever so that I could create a sustainable, long-lasting business. If you look at the banks, the neobanks that are starting up today that are sitting on top of another bank, their revenue from those relationships is a revenue share of the income that that bank earned on those deposits. With interest rates where they are right now, Fed funds, let's just say they're 2%. The best a bank would do is share, if this would be great, 50% of their revenue, which is 1%, which is what they're paying for savings. And then they're giving away all the services and information for free. And so I'm not seeing any profit. And I also know that the churn is really high. And that's because they've not managed expectations.
She makes great points, and I know several large and established companies that have failed trying to get bank charters. But if you're looking at the economics, getting a charter allows you a lot more control. You aren't in a partnership, and you have a very direct relationship with the regulators. It makes it much easier to see profit, particularly if you're developing technologies that allow different ways to scale. You can really depend on your share, and it is a really strong position.
Yes, but getting a new bank charter in the U.S. is incredibly rare. Only 9 new banks have been chartered since the financial crisis in 2008, after several banks lost their charters because of risks of assets. Most fintechs or neobanks don't even try. I asked her about this experience.
The most difficult part about getting a charter, there were so many things. The big deal was we were the first application the OCC had even received in 12 years. So let's just say they didn't necessarily know what to do with it, who was to do what. There was a lot of gray areas, and we also were the first digital bank, and we were a venture bank, which the OCC had declined over and over again from people like from banks like JP Morgan. So it was a very difficult road, and I stacked the deck. I have a board full of independent people with prior regulatory experience, legal experience around banking. I have a management team that is deeply steeped in their particular work stream from an operations risk credit perspective, and I raised $115 million. So it should have been a thing, but it was very difficult. At the same time, I wouldn't go back and change it because now I know I'm going to be profitable in 2021.
Even with all of the expertise, it took over a year. Grasshopper applied in 2018, gaining a conditional approval in August of 2018. The finalized charter was approved in spring of 2019, and not all regulatory requirements were in place until June. That's a long time.
That is a really long time. It's the first commercial bank that intends to be completely digital first that has ever received a charter. It is interesting she made it central to her plan, considering how unpredictable it was.
She also has another mission for Grasshopper, one that might be more ambitious than being the first completely digital commercial bank.
So yes, large chips, one on each shoulder. New York versus Silicon Valley, women in banking.
Wow, so by getting a charter, she's reasserting New York as a center of banking for innovation. She wants to beat Silicon Valley.
Sanjib, you of all people know how much this message resonates with me as the queen of New York being the center of fintech, so all on board there. And she is insisting on drawing a very diverse talent base. So she said working in banking for years, she had witnessed a lot of diverse talent, but when she looked at the boards of the banks or who was running these banks, she didn't see it represented there.
That also made me mad because I had worked with plenty of women and people of color who were very skilled, who were not making it to the table in New York, for heaven's sakes. And I want people to understand that it is not hard to have a highly diverse, inclusive company and be successful.
In fact, as I was talking to her, it became clear that she saw drawing from a diverse talent pool was a strength.
Drawing from a diverse talent base is a business imperative today. It's foolish to limit your teams to people who have all the same background and understanding of world cultures. It just won't work anymore.
You don't have to tell me. When I asked what she thought was her greatest strength in recognizing that diversity, her answer was straight from Groundhog Day.
Bill Murray says, God isn't omnipotent. He's just been around so long, he knows everything and everyone. That's me. Just been around so long, I know everyone and everything. But I know a lot of people. I'm at the point in my life where I think I know what I don't know.
Knowing what you don't know is a great place for any entrepreneur to be. It certainly allows you to understand what you're looking for.
Or helps you recognize it when you see it.
I think we'll all be watching to see whether Judith is right, that the most sustainable way to put together a digital-first commercial bank is to get a charter. As the industry watches Grasshopper, it will be interesting to see how it works out.
It definitely will, and I know firsthand I've been getting a ton of inbound requests around the Grasshopper model and what's happening there. So they have a great leadership team, and they're going to be telling more about the experience of getting the charter and what it means on the Money 2020 stages this year during the Battle Over Billions panel.
The mission to draw on diversity is shared by Money 2020. We're looking to highlight as many new and insightful voices as we can. We think it's particularly important to get diverse ideas about all the different issues in the industry. We have sessions that include climate change initiatives, the cannabis banking landscape, the ways AI is shifting customer experience, and the ways that data can be better secured and better utilized with customers in mind. There will be a lot of breadth and depth.
And don't worry, you won't miss us too much. We'll be back after the conference. Until then, go and subscribe to the MoneyPot, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and catch up on the last 5 episodes that also highlight speakers at this year's conference.
We want to thank our guest, Judith Erwin of Grasshopper Bank, our producers, Roland Bodenham and Rachel Morrissey, and our team including Sabina Osorio, Melissa Miller, Keisha Allison, and Monique Ruff-Bell. This is Sanjib Kalita.
And this is Scarlett Sieber. We can't wait to see you all in 2 weeks.
Same here.
This is
Essential.
This is Essential Audio.